Everywhere you look in tabletop gaming, there are videos about the number one thing that you should buy, the hobby tools that you should buy. And I'm here to tell you about something that I just discovered that I think should be the first thing that everybody buys. And it's not a tool, it's actually a game. One of the big problems with tabletop gaming is that they're huge money investments everywhere you look. Paintbrushes, paint, the games themselves, and so it's kind of hard to know where to start. You know, most people will tell you to find an army that you like in Warhammer and start there, or, you know, start playing D&D and you can buy some miniatures or some terrain pieces or make them with garbage or whatever it is. And I believe that I found a game that kind of handles that. The game, of course, that I'm talking about is Maladum. Okay, and if you don't know a lot about Maladum, that's okay, because we're going to talk a little bit about it today. And I honestly think that it's probably the first thing that I would have bought knowing what I know now. And the reason for that is simple. Even if I decided that I hated painting or I hated war games or things like that, I still have this standalone game that I can play, take to friends' houses, and it's super fun. Okay, and yes, it has complexity, but it doesn't have to be played complexly. I don't know if that makes sense. But there's a simple way to play it, there's a more complicated way to play it. It's a great game, but those are not the reasons that I think that you should get into it. That's just in case you hate everything else, it's still that.
The cherry on top.
So let's talk about the reasons that I think you should get into it for. Number one is simple. Because when you open this box, the first thing that you're going to see is this. A neoprene mat. Okay? And it unfolds. You can stick it on your table. It's awesome. You could use it for a mouse pad if you wanted, because it's the same kind of material. And it has inch by inch squares blocked out. So any tabletop game that you want to play that uses measurements, guess what? They're right there. They're right in front of you. It is an awesome little mat that can be used for any game. Honestly, before I played Maladum, I had D&D night. And I took that instead of my regular mat because I wanted to try it out, obviously. But it worked perfect. I was able to put up the houses. Characters knew exactly how far they had to travel, and it was fantastic. So if you're looking to get into D&D or any other tabletop game that I know of that uses measurements, that mat right there, that's going to save you some money because you're always looking for something to buy, and you can't find those for less than $30. Maybe you can, but not in that quality. The number two reason that I think you should get into this is because it comes with modular terrain. It comes with terrain that you can rebuild and reorganize in just about any way that you want. You can make walls, you can make buildings, you can make houses, you can make rooms, you can do whatever you want with it. And it comes with a lot. Okay, for this game, $109 for the base box. And I will say one thing about the box. In this hobby, a lot of the times when you spend $109 and you open up a box, you're going to kind of feel like, oh, because it's not that much stuff inside. There's not that much plastic. There's not that many models. When I opened this box, I was just like, they couldn't have put anything else in it. It was that full and it was that heavy and it was just amazing. I'm talking hundreds of pieces and cards and dice and models, and anyway, we'll keep getting into that. But the terrain is fantastic. If you want to play Kill Team, if you want to play Spearhead, if you want to play Warcry, or, you know, Infinity or Malifaux or any of those games, you can use this terrain and you can use this playmat for them to make walls, buildings, barriers, whatever you want. And it's more than that. It comes with scatter terrain. Okay, this actually came in the expansion. Bookshelves, but they have doorways, they have wells, they have torches, they have fires, they have chests, they have tons of stuff. Okay? And you can use it for anything. Now, the next thing I want to talk about that makes this game great, it comes with all these minis. Okay, and if you watched my video from last week, you can see I actually painted one of them. They're really good quality minis. You can see everything. So if you want something to test your painting out on, that isn't your army, that isn't something else, you've got a bunch of models right here of skeletons, of trolls, of people, of characters, and things like that. They're fantastic little models that, again, you can use for Maladum, or you can use them in your D&D campaign. Everything in there, I can use in a D&D campaign and have used other instances of in the past. You want to get your hands on some minis and see if you like to paint them? Great place to start. And if you hate them, guess what? You just prime them back to whatever color you want and use them in the game. During COVID, D&D exploded. It became big again. It became this game that people wanted to get into because now they had time and they had, imagination and things different reasons to get into it. It's probably in the biggest spot that it has ever been. But playing D&D is hard. Getting people together is hard. Finding a DM is hard. Okay, and so this is a great game to test with your friends to see if it's something that you would even like, and it doesn't really need a DM. So you guys can just try it out, see if you like the adventuring aspect of it, see if you like playing a game that requires that together. In short, this game is a dungeon delving game. You go into the dungeon, you're looking for materials, you're looking for whatever the quest item is, and the longer you're in the dungeon, the more dangerous it becomes. The more magic builds up inside of the dungeon. Which is awesome, because it makes casting spells dangerous, because when you cast a spell, guess what? You're building magic in the dungeon, and so you have to think about what you're doing. You can play it 2-player, 3-player, 4-player. Everyone's got their own person that they control and they do with. You can play, you have 3 characters, I have 3 characters. We both have our dungeon parties. Let's go in and see what happens. You can play against each other if you want. Okay, there's random battles. Do you want to help the other person, or do you want to lead things to the other person? It allows you to play in just about any way that you can think of. And I love that. It's never boring because you can do whatever you want, basically. Okay, and oh yeah, they released an expansion, and in the expansion, what comes with it? Crafting. You want to craft weapons and find material and go in and kill monsters to get material and get things? You can do that too. So, it's as close to being a video game as I have ever seen a board game be, and it's really fun to get in there and to play. And it's got an essence of danger.
That's dangerous!
That you kind of, are you going to test it or not? And when you test it, things get really fun, and sometimes you die. But it's awesome. And something I forgot to mention, you can play this game by yourself.
I just like being alone.
I know that sounds weird, but you can totally send people into this dungeon and see how they're going to do, split them up, decide, this is how I would do it. The randomness of the game has mechanics that have to be followed, and it makes it so that you can play by yourself and enjoy doing it. And maybe your characters survive, maybe they don't. And I think that says a lot about a game when a board game can be played single player. And back to that RPG side of this, when I play D&D, the people I play with do not like to roleplay. It's just how they are. A couple like to, a couple don't. And so we have a very easy back and forth of, do we have to roleplay? No, you don't. You can do whatever you want. This game, same thing. It allows you to roleplay if you want, but you don't have to roleplay at all. And so if there are people that that are really against that and you just want to try this on them,
Because they're lame.
it's a great way to do that, because you can trick them and say it's just a board game, even though it is so much more than that. Regardless of what tabletop game you want to get into, eventually you're going to have to buy or have a game board of some kind. You're going to have terrain of some kind. You're going to have minis of some kind. And this box comes with all of that. And on top of it, it's just a fun game to play. So yeah, I stand beside what I said before. this should be the first thing that you buy. This should be the first thing that you try if you don't know what you're doing yet, because this will help you learn. And if you like how this is, you like how this moves and goes through and plays, find the aspect that you like the most. Oh, I like the role play side of it. Oh, I like the movement side of it. I like the painting side of it. And you have the gateway to the hobby that you are going to enjoy without having to spend thousands of dollars just to find out you hate something. And if you hate having to write things down on paper and have, notes and things like that, and you think a game shouldn't have that, it doesn't need it. It comes with character tabs that you can put your character on with their class and their abilities and everything, and they make it as user-friendly as I have ever seen any game to get into, and that just makes this whole thing that much better. So, do you think I'm crazy? I mean, what hobby tool would you suggest to somebody who wants to get in the hobby but doesn't know where to start? Because for me, this is hands down the best thing yet. Okay? If you think I'm crazy, let me know. If you think there's something better to suggest, let me know. For those of you who are, it's fantasy, I don't like fantasy, I like science fiction. Guess what? They have another game that is all science fiction called Core Space. And it has the same stuff. It's got an awesome box that everything comes in. And it's a very similar game. But guess what? It's all in space. So you need a world for your Necromunda or for your Kill Team or for your Infinity. Guess what? That's a great place to start too. Because again, now you have a playmat, you have terrain, you have scatter terrain, you have miniatures, you have a place to start. I wish I had that when I started playing D&D, because those first couple rounds of D&D were rough. I've yet to know anybody who first time DMing, first day doing DMing, just it was all rainbows and butterflies, because mine was rough. And I think if I'd had something like this, I would have been a little more prepared. So anyway, if you're looking to get into tabletop gaming, this is a great place to start. They've got a new expansion that's coming out in the next month or two. That is going to be awesome. I will review that and I'll go over it as well as everything that it has, just to kind of get out there, because I like this game. I don't consider this a board game. I consider this a tabletop skirmish type game, dungeon crawler. And so if you like that, stick around, subscribe, and hit that little bell and you'll be notified when I drop that video of the expansion for Maladum and everything else. Here at Pulsegate, we're all about making your tabletop experience the best it can be. And that's what we're trying to do. So stick around, drop a comment below, help the channel grow. And in the meantime, don't be so busy building your world that you forget to spend some time in it. Oh, and putting all the stuff together for this is so fast. It takes like minutes instead of hours. So yeah, really easy to build your world so that you can spend some time in it. Until next time.